So hello everyone, my name is Simon MAILLOT. I'm a space engineer and a PhD candidate at Sokenda University in Japan. And today with my colleague Esteban DÉCLINE, who is also a space engineer and represents the Alten company, we jointly made a study called Modeling the Space Debris Environment for Hypervelocity Impact Risk Assessment on Solar Power Satellite, with the support of our past professor, which is a French engineering school located in Paris. So, this study has two aims. The first one is to evaluate the number of impact we expect for specific concept of solar power satellite, and I will detail in next slide what it is precisely. And in the second time, what could be the damage induced by such impact. Notably, we will analyze both contributions from space debris and meteoroids. So, the solar power satellite is the satellite which is put in geostationary orbit, and the aim is to acquire the solar power in space and transmit it back to Earth using microwaves. There is several different concepts of solar power satellite, but we concentrated on only one concept, which is called SPS, which is the main model studied in Japan for which the government is investing into the research. So the tethered SPS is a large-scale power transmission and it's a large-scale power generation and transmission panel which is linked to a bus system by very long cables. So this is from only 1 unit of solar power satellite. The full structure is a kilometer-wide structure, so it has a high exposure to the space environment, and we say high exposure to the space environment, and also say potential high variability to meteoroids and space debris. So we proceed as such. First, we evaluate how much impact we could expect, so in terms of flux. Secondly, we evaluate the damage that could be induced by impacts of space debris and meteoroids. And finally, we provide some recommendation for enhancement of the SPS structure. So, about the geometry that has been used for our simulation. One full-scale SPS structure is a 2.5 by 2.3 kilometer structure. So we implemented in our simulation, at least for the evaluation of the number of impact, the full structure. One unit, one small square you can see there, is a 100 meter square linked to a bus system by cables. About the geometry of the solar power satellite, it is planned to be released in geostationary orbit. So for our simulation, we consider the typical orbital parameters for such orbit. So the space environment simulator that has been used, called ISABES, which has been developed by Ultramax company under a European Space Agency contract. This space environment simulator is notably estimating the space debris flux, the meteoroid flux, taking into account the geometry involved in the simulation and the orbital parameters. We use two different models. One is called ORDEN3 for space debris analysis, and the other is MIN3 for meteoroid analysis. We selected these two, which has been provided to us by NASA, and we selected these two for the reason that we compared with the typical flux that we can find into the iterator. We find the closest one to the reference flux, and the one which is also incorporated in test data. So for the space debris analysis, we consider space debris for size range between 10 centimeter and 1 meter. The reason for which we selected this size range is because it is just the capabilities of this ORDEN 3.2 model, and also because the current incorporated data, observational data in this model do not include the size below 10 cm. So we modelize the flux considering orbital parameters and geometry, the flux in function of the diameter, and the SPS can have different configuration, especially can give an initial inclination angle to the structure. So we tested from inclination angle from -80 degree to 80 degree, and we see that we have a lowest probability of encounter space debris around 0 degree. So the structure initial inclination, if we want a low probability of encounter space emission, we get around 0 degree. But we see that the average flux estimate is very low, on the order of 10 power minus 10 impacts per meter square per year. Of course, we are in GO, so there is much less, the flux is much lower than for LU. And about the estimated number, if we reduce that in terms of impact, impact per year, because the mission that we are studying is for only 1 year. So this is the number if I consider the full structure. It is on the order of 10 power minus 3 impact per year. Now about the metal width analysis, we consider the mean 3 model, and the size range is from 100 micron to 30 millimeter. This is also the maximum range of analysis for this model implemented in Isabel's. So we proceeded similarly. First, we modeled the flux distribution of the diameter and tested for different inclination angle of the full structure, from minus 80 degrees to 80 degrees. The lowest probability of encounter is around is for an inclination angle around 18 degrees, and the flux, contrary to the space degrees, is far much higher, around 2 impact per meter square per year. And if we reduce that in terms of impact per year, considering the full SPS structures, it is more than 20 millions of impact per year that are expected. And if we analyze what kind of meteors are impacting the most the structures, it's for particles between 1 and 1 millimeter, and more around 75% of the total flux are represented by particles between 100 microns and 200 microns. And this is particularly important for the domain risk assessment. And I let my colleague Esteban talk about the dimension analysis.
So yes, to evaluate the dimension of such particles can cause, we performed impact simulations using anti-flow bench mechanical dynamics with virtualized solver. This method is particularly suitable for problems involving high-speed velocity, short-motion events, and large information. So it was the ideal for our simulations. So what we simulated is 2 different particles, 1 millimeter in size and 100 micron in size, traveling both at 5 kilometers per second. And then we performed the impact on the section. So this is a section of FPS, composed of 6 layers, the solar cell part and the electron part, which is about 2.5 millimeter in width. So on the first elemental image, you can see the 1 millimeter particle impacting the SPS unit, creating a 4 millimeter clear hole and causing plastic deformation up to almost the edge of the geometry, about 1.5 centimeters away, the rotation side. On the other hand, the 100 millimeter particle failed, of course, to fully penetrate the 2.5 millimeter material and start in the phase controller amplifier layer, about 7 micrometer deep. While this dimension can seem less important than the 1 millimeter one, as Simon said, millions of impacts are to be expected of this kind of particle of this size within a year. So the dimension shouldn't be underestimated, and measures have to be taken into account to lower the effect it can have on energy production. So when it comes to meteorite impact, we're talking about tiny particles that can progressively decrease the energy production, the efficiency of the system, whereas space debris are much less common at this altitude, but so much bigger in size than directly microstructure of SPS. The catastrophic failure probability when equal by this debris is quite low, at 5% for a 15-year mission, but still not negligible. So we have to, of course, take it into account, and efficiency shielding can reduce this probability even more. material enhancements that can be taken into account is also we can either choose different materials that can handle more efficiently the impact with particles, like metal alloys or polymer-based materials. And also, as someone said earlier, the inclination of the SPS should also be optimized near 0 degree, so the incoming particle flux is lower to maximum. So to conclude, the space debris impact directly could have a terrible effect on the SPS structure, whereas micrometeoroid impacts are inevitable because of them are at this altitude, at geostationary altitude, and recommendation on the structural, to maintain the structural integrity of the SPS, recommendation on the structures can be made, such as using ripple shields on different materials, polymers, alloys, and also there's the inclination of the SPS, that depends of course on the configuration of the system itself, that has to be lowered to optimize, let's say optimize it to lower the incoming particle flux. So thank you for your kind attention, and with Simon together we're open to your questions.